I have a lot of people coming to me now, asking me questions about how they can be something, be the thing that they want, that they desire. People desire a lot of things. This was like the main issue that the Buddha was dealing with. That there was so much suffering in the world, and that the suffering comes from desire, which is not being acceptant of the present and wanting more, not being satisfied with the present, or perhaps not knowing what to do or how to be present. Because if you're truly present, then there's no thought of the thought. There's no thought of being present. You're just present. And so there's no suffering in being fully present. There isn't. Unless you've got something like physiologically wrong with you, right? Like you have gut issues, or you haven't eaten, or like, you're thirsty and stuff. But, even then you can bypass some of those if you're truly, truly present. And maybe it's trainable. Perhaps some people could lose entire limbs and be completely present and not identify. Maybe their body wants to scream, but maybe they've maybe you never know. The human body is unstudied. It has been, but it hasn't been studied properly, and it's all dependent on the tools that we use, and with enough time, and so what does this mean? Basically, is that we've been taught what the human body is and the mind by establishments and schools and our parents and our own sense of self. But what does it actually mean to have a body? What does it actually mean to interact with the world? What does even interacting with the world mean? What even is the world? These questions we have to answer first, or get close to, in order to become the change that we want. Because a lot of the people that want to become these aspiring individuals, they don't take into account the backstories of the aspiring individuals that they aspire to be, right? Every hero has a story of suffering that he then overcomes, right? He accepts, he swallows, he overcomes, he deals with, he transmutes into positive action. So we can't have an end without the suffering. Like one of my favorite superheroes is Spider-Man, and that motherfucker, he perseveres, man. And despite the backstory that he's had, and he does it, he acknowledges that there will be suffering in the entire way, probably even till the end. Everyone he knows might die because of his actions, but what else can you do? That's what makes him a hero, is that the villains chose that they couldn't. Like they were like, the villains were like, I can't protect the things that I love, my life, my career, my values, my aspirations and stuff. It's too hard. I might as well take the easy way out and manipulate others and shortcut my way to success. But that doesn't work out, as we can see, from the likes of Venom. Shortcutting meant a parasitical relationship with something that leached on Eddie Brock and took over him and his mind and his impulses and his negative emotions and turned him into much more of a monster than he was. And perhaps it revealed the monster inside of him. And this is the point, is that when Pete had the symbiote, a lot of people believe that the symbiote influenced him, but it was actually evoking his deepest, darkest desires. So him being a hero is part of that, is that he had the power, he had the shortcut, but he gave it up. Not because it was just taking over his mind, that's part of it, but he valued his mind. His mind wasn't just what he wanted, but the familial members that he had, Uncle Ben, Aunt May, and his friends who helped forge his mind, right? So you have to take a perspective of, if you want to succeed and you want to become someone, you have to be that person. You have to become the change, right? Become the change you want to see. And so in my life, I was searching and searching and searching, trying to find some hero, some person who fit my standards and values, and the world's standards and values. But as we have found now, growing up puts things into a realistic perspective, that it is very difficult to be an astounding individual. It takes a lot of intentional effort, and you can't, it's not a path where every single day you wake up and you 100% know that your efforts are going towards something. And perhaps because of other things, you might be overlooking certain important aspects of your life. And that's part of the hero's journey, is that, look at Spider-Man, bro. He's always rushing, bro. Peter's getting messed up in his relationships. He's getting messed up in in his studies. It's not that he can't study. It's not that he's dumb. It's that he has other responsibilities that the world does not. The world doesn't understand. They can't understand, because if they did, they'd either just be Peter Parker, or perhaps a lot of us are Spider-Man. But the point is, Pete wasn't bullied because he was ugly. There's loads of versions of him. He's not ugly. He wasn't bullied because he was ugly. He was bullied because he had a lot of, he was weighing on nothing. He saw the girl that he liked, and instead of feeling like the person who could do that, he just didn't feel like it, and instead just decided to hole in on his quirky hobbies, which made Pete Pete. But and Pete probably could have done really well for himself if he tried really hard physically and got into a sport early. But the thing is, you have to understand, Pete had no one. His uncle helped him, but he didn't have his mom and dad. It wasn't the most normal backstory, and he wasn't the most physically gifted either. And up until he received his powers, when he received his powers, he obviously gained the confidence of the athleticism, the physique, and perhaps the sharpness of the mind. But other than that, to the rest of the world, he's the same thing. And so, to others, he's just all of a sudden confident. It's not like he's punching people around, jumping around people. He just is, he knows he's capable of more. And then he starts to play around with it and realize that that power is not fun. That it means, it means more than just making some money and cheating some people over. And when he did that, actually, you know, if you remember, that a robber tried to, he tried to use his powers to make money in wrestling, and then he had an argument with the boss manager or something because they didn't want to pay him, or didn't pay him a lot. And so he left the room, and some robber comes in. Pete has powers, he knows he can stop this robber, but he's like, nah, because he's like, he deserves it, right? That robber obviously robs the place, probably even kills someone, but he then shoots his Uncle Ben. And the thing is, it's not about necessarily, it's more of like, he's human. Pete is human. That's our Spider-Man, right? And he made that mistake. And look at the man he became. So the point is to not identify with every part of your story and every mistake of yours, and instead look at the ideal that you'd like to become. The hero's journey, right? And that ideal you must aspire so much so that it just erodes through yourself. And sometimes things must be sacrificed, you know? It's necessary. Whether, if that, you know, in order to protect the things that you value. So, yeah, be the change that you want to see in the world, and stop waiting for someone else to do it. And yeah, it starts pretty much now, you know. Think about in the present moment, just look around you. What would you even want to do? Not everyone has the energy, but it's like you have to be. You don't get inspired waiting around. You get inspired just doing shit. You know, doing shit, encountering people, encountering individuals, encountering like material and, you know, in the world, and you know, you have to live the world on some level in order to make deductions about it. So try and experience a lot of things. Don't be as biased towards things. Be open to change, be open to conversation, and realize you are a lot more malleable than you believe, truly, and that your thoughts are holding you back. So don't become comfortable in the same thought processes, because then you stick with that same identity. You are not your thoughts. You are your actions and integration in the world, and your sense of self. That's it. Your thoughts are just, if I could describe it to you, like if you were to just have a giant document in front of you, and like you just have regular creations, visual or auditory, you know, of all sorts, due to the likeness of your nature and also the environment that you surround yourself with. So it's like your thoughts are kind of like the dreams of the waking world. So in order to be present, you need to stop dreaming in the thoughts, and you need to start looking and experiencing what it's like to be And then you can start, instead of how Pete decided to look at that situation, which was his sense of self was, his ego was hurt, because of that interaction. He didn't allow who he was, which is a powerful person with the ability to stop certain things or interact with the world a certain way, which was could have been very easy for him. He automatically dodges bullets, basically. But it's more of like, now he would go and stop pretty much every robber, he changed how he thought about the world, because he didn't lie to himself, right? He realized that when he makes decisions, they influence others, including himself, in a good and bad way. Because look how much change he did as Spider-Man. Yes, I understand that he has powers, but that's not the point. A lot of people have powers like his villains. And again, his powers don't make his life easy for him, because he can't use it for sport to make money, and a lot of that stuff. He has a secret identity. So yeah, man, be the change you want to be the hero that you'd like to be.